This is an RNZ podcast.
Maniapoto is who we are.
We've come to the final chapter of this story.
Okay, wairua mai ki te āwhina te whānau nei. I'm just asking them spiritually to come back and show their support for you.
The journey to help my stepdad John rediscover his history.
I am happy with how I was brought up, how I was loved. Still a bit of me that wants to know, what have I missed?
A history shared with thousands of other children born to American servicemen stationed in the Pacific during World War II.
Some of those men who returned home knew that they had a child and knew that they might not ever get to meet them. Must have been traumatising.
As John walks on to his ancestral marae for the first time.
We are who we are. We can't take it all out of us.
He reconnects with his brother Ron on Ron's first ever trip to Aotearoa.
When I first met you, I could see my father in you.
And finally, here's his father's voice.
Hello, Jean and John.
I think there's a lot of longing.
I do as well.
I'm Rita Atwood, and you're listening to The Sound of My Father by Riotworks and RNZ.
I'm excited. I'm excited.
It's about 5:15 in the morning, still very dark, and John and I are on our way to the airport because for the first time ever, John's brother Ron will be visiting New Zealand.
I'd never thought we'd get him here.
Have you and Ron sort of ever really sat down and talked about the man that Don was and his character and what's similar?
Not really. When I was with the family, was more about what I did.
Yeah, getting to know you.
Yes, rather than me talking about Don.
I know just how much this trip means to both John and Ron. And as we drive the 25 minutes or so through the dawn streets of East and South Auckland, John is clearly feeling contemplative.
Do you know, or do you realise that you know more about me than anybody?
So I seize the chance to talk about something that's been worrying me. I've been reflecting on making the podcast, and as I've mentioned multiple times, I've often been operating on a gut feeling, believing John does want to know more about his whakapapa or genealogy. But I've been second-guessing myself.
You're super relaxed and you know who you are, but I felt like there was a curiosity there, the desire to want to know more. Did I get it right?
Yeah, you did. It's brought that excitement back out of me. Yeah. I am excited.
To learn a little bit more about, I guess, your Māori whakapapa.
Yes, the only thing I'm sad about is that I don't speak Marae. Sadness, maybe it's even possibly jealousy when I hear other people who can speak it, and I can't. But it's what it is, isn't it?
As you know by now, John doesn't dwell on things. He does have a very relaxed nature. But I know by going down to Kaputuhi Marae and connecting with his whānau there, it's going to be a big moment. And I shared with him something my friend and colleague Eugene said to me. You met Eugene earlier in the series when we went for dinner at Pat and Lynn's, and he's been guiding and advising me through the podcast.
Eugene said to me, because he's Maniapoto, he said, whether he knows it or not, he belongs to us and we belong to him. It's a son of Maniapoto coming home. How does that make you feel?
Very humble. Very humble. And probably a little bit emotional as well.
Yeah?
It's something I've never really spoken to anyone about apart from Hawaii.
Why do you think that is?
Probably my own privacy, I suppose, or lack of speaking, or whatever you like to call it. I keep a lot of my thoughts to myself. I'm probably getting more excited to think that I'm going to meet. I may have met Pat, but probably only briefly, and I think that might have been at Jean's funeral. What I remember about Pat, I think it was his handshake. It was so strong.
I'm really excited for John. I can see what this means to him. But this huge moment is later in the week, and right now we have a brother to pick up. I know John has lots of plans for their time together.
I'd like to share with him where I played a lot of my rugby, show him where I went to school, where I grew up. I've seen his life in America. Now I want to show him my life.
And as we enter the airport, to say John has a spring in his step would be an understatement.
How you feeling? You excited, John?
Yeah. Like a kid going into a candy store.
It's still dark, and Ron's plane should have arrived not long ago.
Hopefully he hasn't brought any illegitimate goods into the country.
Did you tell him about that?
Well, Adam watches Border Patrol, so Adam was like, I've seen it. You know, you can't bring anything in.
John and Ron haven't seen each other in over 10 years.
There's Ron. Here he is.
Here he comes. Here he comes.
Ron has the look of a man being picked up from the airport at 6 a.m. after an almost 12-hour flight. But despite his exhaustion, the smiles on the brothers' faces are beautiful.
Oh, yeah, brother. Good to see you.
Yeah, you're looking well.
Oh, I don't look well. I feel like I swam here.
Oh, we're so excited.
Oh,
How are you
I think
doing?
it's going to be 24 hours before I can get excited.
The brothers have an immediate ease about them,
Give me that. Give me that.
although the drive home on the other side of the road gives Ron heart palpitations.
Yep, I'm going to end up having a cardiac arrest here.
And after giving Ron a couple of hours to settle in, John takes him on a tour of Glen Innes, or GI, as most people call it.
Basically, this is where I grew up. Through here, all this was just fields. And over here was Chinese gardens.
Big market garden.
Yeah, market gardens. But this was another school I went to. It was a primary school.
Looks a lot like the school I went to.
This was our house, because that's a purity tree down the back corner that the old man planted. Where that purity tree is was where the chickens used to be kept.
I love watching the brothers, so quietly comfortable with each other as John shares his life.
But this is where I started my rugby career.
We're at the Marist Rugby Club, which used to be the Tamaki Rugby Club, with the Tamaki estuary shining in the winter sun behind it.
This is where our athletics used to be here every Tuesday night.
Must have been cold out here.
Our last stop on the tour is College Rifles Rugby Club in Remuera, where John played and coached for many years.
Oh, this place got some history. I mean, there used to be some big brawls up here, I tell you.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Now, College Rifles is actually part of my family history, in more ways than one, because my dad Wal and many of his friends also used to play there. So, in a lovely turn of events, my dad has arranged for some of the old boys to meet.
How are you, darling? All right? Good.
Ron Asher, how are you?
John's clearly so happy and proud to be showing off his brother.
Call me my brother.
Ron, how are you? Cordy's brother. Yes.
I leave the old boys to it,
Long lost brother, I heard.
and a couple of days later, on a rainy Sunday morning,
We're all pretty used to this situation, aren't we? The microphone.
More or less, yes.
I sit down with Ron and John.
I was excited to see Ron again because it'd been so long since I'd seen him. And probably also finding out a lot more about my father that has been eluding me all these years.
Well, it's sort of like making in a way, a final connection. Everything's coming together here. I mean,
Everything's coming to a head.
yes, it is coming to a head. It feels very good. Yes.
We're at Mum and John's dining table, cups of tea in hand, and Tui singing loudly in the background. It's the first time the brothers have really talked about their history. They're only 6 years apart, and in a different world they could have grown up together. But of course one son was raised by Don, while the other was never far from his thoughts.
Bit hard to explain that somebody way over the ocean was still wanted really badly to see me.
It was difficult because knowing Dad as I did, he would have very much wanted to know. It would have bothered him a great deal if he had a son out there, he wanted to know him and to meet him, and definitely would have felt morally bound to.
In the months since I started working on this podcast, both Ron and John have read all the correspondence between Jean and their father. Like me, trying to understand the events surrounding John's birth and the nature of Don and Jean's relationship with each other and with their son through their letters. So that seemed a natural starting point for the conversation, whether the letters offered a glimpse into Don's motivations.
Definitely felt that Dad was seeking information. And I kept seeing almost every page the detective in Dad coming out going, I want to do this carefully. My father was not one to take the reins and run. He was cautious in his approach to all things. And especially something like this, which is tantamount to an investigation, in a sense. He would have proceeded slowly, cautiously, methodically, and gone as far as he thought he could go.
He's never been able to have contact. I think that would have been the hardest bit. Yeah. I can understand Jean's perspective, but it didn't help my side of it. Possibly there's a bit of unforgiveness there.
Yeah, I would think that would be only natural. I look at Jean and I feel a great deal of empathy for her. One thing I always bore in mind, that if my father loved her, she was a good woman. The thoughts that keep running through my mind is, the times, the war, the love affair, the youth. Having a child at that particular time, when you didn't have a husband ready at hand, the decisions she had to make at that time, after John was born, to adopt. That's something that men have a hard time assimilating, That was tough on her, very tough on her. And I'm sure Jean had reasons, if in fact she did withhold information. Whether those reasons were well thought out, I don't know. But I tend to think they weren't selfish reasons. I think that was a struggle for her, and for reasons we don't know. I don't know if we'll ever have the answers as to why she held back information.
There's too many letters missing.
Yes.
But what it is what it is.
But while there are a lot of unanswered questions, what Ron can do for John is build a clearer picture of Don, this man who gave him half his DNA.
I've often been asked, when did I hear about you the first time? And I've never been able to pinpoint when it was that either my mother or my father mentioned you. Because they would always talk about family matters in a very secretive way. It was never, I've been meaning to speak to you about this, son, let's put all our cards on the table here. It was never that, It was never that. What complicates all this is how secretive both of my parents were regarding John. To understand my father's and my mother's approach to this situation, you really have to know something about their backgrounds, rural backgrounds, Midwest backgrounds, very morally strict backgrounds, at least on my father's side.
Ron tells John more about Don's early life, which we of course learnt about a couple of episodes back. Being born in Nebraska,
there's not a hill to be seen for probably 100 miles.
Leaving school in the 8th grade, and later joining the Conservation Corps.
And he tells horrendous stories about some of the things that went on in those camps.
And joining the Marines not long after the war broke out.
I went straight to Guadalcanal, didn't come here first.
He did. Had a very tough time on Guadalcanal.
John's transfixed by everything Ron tells him, clearly drinking in all the information he can about Don. As we learnt in America, Ron doesn't have a huge amount of knowledge about Don's time in Aotearoa, apart from reflecting on its beauty and the kindness he received here.
The people were very gracious to him.
But Ron tells John about their father's return to the US. hospitalised with malaria initially, before getting a job at the Naval Supply Centre, meeting Viola, and eventually joining the police force.
For him, that was great, because he did not want to go home. He did not want to be a farmer.
But while Don didn't want to be a farmer, he didn't quite leave his background behind.
Well, he had a Midwest appetite. It was meat and potatoes. That's what he liked to have. That's what my mother was forced to cook.
Yeah, no different.
Wouldn't eat a bowl of rice because of the war. Wouldn't eat a pizza or anything like that. That was just too outrageous. But he liked to fish. He liked to play golf. He had quite a temper. You remind me of him in that. He'd make a bad shot and he'd throw the golf club about 100 yards.
So that's where my temper came from.
Uh-huh. Now, my father could swear like a trooper, never swore in front of the family, was absolutely devoted to his mother and father. Family meant a lot to him. Well, he didn't like country music too much. He liked the pop music that was being played back then. He didn't like rock and roll. I think he probably came to only 3 or 4 performances of mine. And one of them is because the police raided him, and he was one of the police officers. But he liked to play the guitar, and he would sit at the kitchen table and play. He's the one that taught me how to play. And then he gave it up pretty quickly after I started music lessons, and I kind of outshown him, and he said that was enough. He did the same thing with golf, by the way. He taught me how to play golf, and then I started beating him, and he quit.
Doesn't like being second best, eh, John? Does that remind you of anyone?
Yes.
Dad, however, was always berating himself for his lack of education, especially when he became chief. He says, I got to stand up in front of these people, and they're all college educated, and here I am, an 8th grade education. He would really feel inferior.
I can understand that because I felt inferior. One, because it didn't have any money.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have any money. And I saw my sport as my way of being an equal, if not better than them. And that used to spur me, when we played King's College and Auckland Grammar, it was brutal.
Yeah, Dad had a little bit of that in him, yeah.
On John's first trip to the US, he was told that if Don could have, he would have come back for John. But today, sitting in John's Auckland kitchen, Ron explains it wasn't quite that straightforward.
Police officers back then made a mere pittance. There was always a struggle to get by financially. The idea of him getting on a boat or a plane and coming to New Zealand and then dealing with God knows what, as far as the situation here. Yeah, it would have been tough. Dad would have had a good feeling about John's parents and the way he was raised, and at the same time, I think there would have been some hesitancy about interfering in that. One word to describe Dad is self-conscious, and he wasn't one to intrude on somebody's life, especially a family life, and that would have been out of the question for him. And I think by the time he was able financially to think about that, you're grown, man of the world himself here, and what was he going to do? Well, when I first met you, I could see my father in you. I could see him. Look you straight in the eye, integrity. Your integrity is easy to see. Just the same character traits, strong. And my father was one who, if you went to him for any kind of protection or help, he never turned away. And I got that impression from you.
It's been explained to me who he was, and I can relate to a lot of that. I can feel the closeness.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think your dad would make of the man that John is?
He would have been very proud of his skills as a plumber. He would have been very proud of the sports, undoubtedly. I can't see a single aspect of John's life that Dad wouldn't have been proud of. He would have been very, very happy to have a son, and it turned out that way.
How do you think they'd get along, knowing the two of them?
Oh, great. Absolutely fantastic. No doubt in my mind.
We spend a few days being tourists in Auckland, visiting Albert Park, where we know from the letters Jean and Don spent time.
This would have been paradise. A safe place, a beautiful place.
Showing Ron the West Coast.
It's magnificent.
Subjecting him to one of our boisterous family dinners.
Does everybody like apple pie?
Oh yeah. And on one of the first days of spring, I drive out to Howick.
Morning.
Good morning.
Ready for the big day.
Good.
I'm taking John and Ron down to Otarahanga to visit John's marae Kaputuhi for the first time. We're going to be meeting Pat Stafford, a kaumātua of Ngāti Kaputuhi, John's hapu or sub-tribe, at the marae. And then we'll head back to his place to have a cup of tea with Pat and his wife Lynn. I can sense a gentle excitement as we jump in John's truck. Ron's up front and I'm in the back. And we've got a 2-hour drive ahead of us as I ask them both what they're looking forward to today.
Just meeting people, I suppose, meeting and knowing a little bit more history of the family.
Well, I'm just excited for John being down here. We're doing a first together. And I'm excited about seeing and learning about a new culture. One that a few weeks ago I wouldn't even consider it as something I might do.
What does it mean to you, John, to be sharing this with Ron?
I think it's very special. I mean, I never ever thought would get him here. Yeah, and I'm quite proud to be seeing what my ancestry was like, because I don't think it's a lot of Europeans actually get that privilege.
And Ron, what does it mean to you to be, I guess, sharing this moment with John?
Well, that means quite a bit to me. This is a memory I'll carry with me the rest of my days. The entire experience is unique. I could have never imagined that I would be here today.
We're heading to where Jean was born and raised, and Jean was a woman that at one point your dad loved very much. What thoughts does that stir?
Well, I sit back and try to imagine the entire scenario of the war and them meeting and young love. And in 74, it's kind of difficult to remember what young love was like, but still.
I think it's very unique because it's wartime.
Yes, life expectancy, romance, was all very precarious. The question I keep asking is, I wonder if he ever sat back and said, what if I went AWOL? What if I just stay here? I mean, that could have happened.
Trouble is, you know as well as I do, the American Army wouldn't be very forgiving.
Oh no, especially in wartime. I keep thinking, wondering what Dad would have thought seeing the two of us coming down here together.
I reckon to be quite chuffed.
I think he would have been overjoyed.
Kaputuhi Marae is in Hangatiki, a settlement of around 1,200 people in the Waitomo district. It's a farming community, so as we approach the marae, we're surrounded by lush green fields, and John spots Pat sitting in the maho or porch of the whare nui, or meeting house.
He's resting himself.
Today's an informal visit, but protocol is always observed. So we wait for Pat to beckon us over.
Tēnā koe, Pat.
So we can cross the marae ātea, or space in front of the whare nui, for a whakatau, a welcome.
Kia ora.
This is John Court.
Kia ora. Tēnā koe, John.
John and Pat embrace,
Ngā mihi koe.
and I can see this quiet sort of reverence on John's face already.
You're related here.
Pat's unfortunately quite unwell today,
Just stay away from him. I've got a bit of a flu.
but it doesn't get in the way of his kindness and warm welcome.
It's good to meet you.
And I explain Ron's connection to the whānau.
So these are long-lost brothers who are now connected.
Oh, I see. And Jean's father and my grandmother, their brother and sister. There were 22 of them, big family.
Before Pat invites us to sit in the mahu with him.
Have a sit down. Welcome to the place. Just sit down beside me and we'll have a little quarter and we'll go inside.
We all sit on the benches of the mahu within the warmth of Pat and John's tupuna whare, or ancestors' house.
Ara mai ki mania koto, ara mai ki tō tupuna whare nei. We stand here today in your house. But te whare, mārena. What happened here, the land married the house. You might have saw kakepuke when you were around Perogia. I think you did. It's that mountain there.
Right.
Well, that's where this house number 2 came from. Well, the first land, the Crown took it all.
Right.
And it had nothing to stand on.
Pat and John share one seat, and Ron and I another. Pat explains the house came to the land through a marriage.
Te hauparo Taiwa married Maki Makuit. She was part English. They had a son and a daughter. They married a mixed breed of French-English. So we are, on that marriage, we are Heta Turner.
So that's where the turn and the heta come from.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
I've never seen John like this before. He's kind of always the big man to me, sort of larger than life. But seeing the two men sitting there, even though there's only 5 or 6 years between them, I almost feel like I'm looking at John as a little boy, listening to his koro, or grandfather. His body's open, relaxed, his face with that same reverence and joy, for want of a better word, taking in the knowledge he's not had access to before.
But this lady here, that's how we've genealogy or whakapapa to this place. That's Parekura is her name. Parekura is Kapitui's daughter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pat's referring to a carved figure on the po mataho. As you look at the wharenui from the outside, it has a pitched roof covering the veranda. The po mataho is the central outer pole, supporting the veranda and ridgepole, with the carving of Parekura at about head height. You can check out the photos on the website to see her. And John's listening to everything, enthralled.
Where you live, John?
In Auckland.
Oh, you're in Auckland.
Yeah, not far from where Jean used to live.
Up until this point, I hadn't wanted to interrupt Pat, so I hadn't attached a mic.
I've got all these clothes on because I'm being cold.
But from now on, you'll hear him a little clearer.
Yeah, I was brought up there, Glen Innes.
Oh, I see, Glen Innes.
I live in Howick now, which is divided by the Tamaki.
Oh, yeah, Howick, that's right.
Yeah. So I haven't moved far at all.
You're a bit like me, I haven't gone anywhere. I've been all around the world. This is home for me.
Yeah, there's no place like home, is there?
Yes. But welcome to you. Welcome to this house.
I think I met you at Jean's.
Oh, did I?
Because, I'll tell you why, I couldn't get over the size of your hands.
Oh.
And they just about broke my hand.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
Yeah, but...
Did you use axe?
Oh, yeah, well, I was a chopper.
Oh, no wonder you just about broke my hand.
I chopped all around New Zealand.
There's such a natural ease in their conversation and connection, and I can see how much it means to John to be sitting beside Pat, learning more about his whakapapa.
Maniapoto is who we are. When you go back in genealogy, we come from Maniapoto, Te Kawirangi, Uaka.
Do you know, I was brought up as a Ngāpuhi.
How are you? Well, I spent all my chopping in Ngāpuhi.
After about 10 minutes, we head into the wharenui.
Haramai means come. We'll just go inside there and meet those people and hanging on the wall. This is our house. So what happens, you can sit on that side, grab a seat and just sit down there, and I'll say a few words to you. You know, right? Tau is you fellas come from. Your Uncle Tao's descendant. That's some of them there hanging on. A lot of photos were taken away. When e tēnā tātou, e karanga wairua tēnei ki ngā tupuna, o ke wairua mai ki te āwhina te whānau nei. I'm just asking them spiritually to come back and show their support for you. You've come here as manuhiri, but we're the same people.
The walls are covered in photos, honouring all the tupuna, ancestors who've come before.
What happened, you see those two big photos up the top. The man is the land, the lady is the house. That's Maki is her name. There were 7 sisters. That's the start of its history. That's their son there, Te Amahanga, and that's his sister there, Mere, and that's the mother. And all these people here relate to her. We're a mixed blood as well. We are who we are. We can't take it all out of us. This is your whare, even though it was the Crown took all its land. But thank you, welcome. We're going to have a cup of tea.
John wants to spend some time looking at his ancestors on the wall, so Pat heads outside with Ron.
And are you born in New Zealand or overseas?
Overseas, in California.
Oh, in California.
Inside, I can see how fascinated John is by everything he sees, drinking it all in. And we look at a photo of Jean's parents, Tau and Pare Hanu.
You can see Jean there, eh?
We spend some time walking around with John soaking it all in, before we join Pat and Ron outside.
Unreal.
All right, John?
Very good.
We'll just close the door and...
I ask the 3 men to stand in front of the whare nui for a quick photo.
Tēnā koe parekura, kei te mahi tātou, kia koe.
And seeing the 3 men lined up, looking upon Pat, Jean and John's ancestral marae feels really quite profound.
It's very special being here, Pat.
Oh, well, lovely, darling.
Thank you.
Anyhow, we're going to have a hot drink of tea.
We will.
We have a beautiful morning tea with Pat and his wife Lynn,
Come inside.
Morning.
where John learns a bit more about his family and grandparents Tau and Pare Hanu. And big gardens.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't get any green fingers, I tell you.
We're there for over an hour, and I can see how much it means to John to be sitting with family and feeling such a connection.
Remind me of Parehanu.
Ah, of his nana.
Ah, the gentleness.
Hey, John.
Gentle.
He is gentle.
No one's been ever called gentle.
you can see the red bag in his eyes.
We leave with full hearts, knowing it's just a beginning, and jump in the car, all feeling very reflective.
Felt very good in my being.
And what about, standing, I guess, in the marae, looking at those walls, knowing these, the history of your people?
It was probably more about hearing the history of our people, probably more than anything. I just feel good. Just feel good.
You look happy.
I am. Exceedingly happy. Yeah.
Especially, I think, because Ron's with him.
Well, that's something that cannot be put into words. It's just so magic having him here.
Well, I was honored to be there. And I was just sitting here thinking, how would Jean have felt about it? I think she would have been pleased as well.
I think it would mean a huge amount to Jean, to know that John was there.
And I think both of them would have felt the same, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it'd be any less than one or the other.
It's a quiet drive back, contemplating meeting Pat and the loveliness of the day.
Oh, man, I keep on saying, I said, that man, he's got a presence. Very strong presence. Felt very close to him.
And a couple of days later, after giving John and Ron a chance to digest the visit, I sit down with them again. Watching you sit there, especially outside, I saw reverence, but I also saw joy, and I also saw this ease about you. What were you feeling sitting there?
It was just serene, peaceful, and just felt engulfed by his presence. Yeah, it's not something I've felt with anybody else at this stage. You know, maybe anyway, you know, but that was a different feeling.
I know that your sense of identity is solid because of being raised and loved by Jack and Hilda. But does it feel, and I know you talk about attributes and things, but is there a sense of feeling at peace? Does learning a little bit more bring that sense of peace to you?
It does. Because all of a sudden you can relate, so you've given me that.
And so you're getting more of a sense of why you are who you are, do you think?
Peace. Yes, peace. I think if I'd had that when I was in my early 20s, I probably could have been a better person. I'm not a very good person when I was on the field. My lack of diplomacy cost me a lot. I probably could have been a bit more successful.
Do you think if you'd had more that sense of peace, that would have
made me a better player?
Why?
Because I wouldn't have been telling everybody what I thought of them.
Because you would have been more at peace with yourself.
Yes.
And who you are.
Yes, I'm happy with my own skin, but I'm more at peace now.
As you walked out, you just went unreal. What was going through your mind walking inside, looking at photos?
I think it's just the history and the memories and everything that was on that wall and in the building. It was serenity.
Is it like, I belong here,
I'm
this
home.
belongs to me?
I'm home. That's what it was. I'm home.
You said with the loss of Hinawai, some doors closed.
Well, I felt they did close. Shut, slammed, boom.
But did you feel a little bit like sitting and meeting Pat that maybe some doors have opened?
Yes, they have opened. Now if I'm down that way, I'll call in and see her. I'll go sideways.
I was watching John a lot. I think it was very important. I think emotionally, spiritually, it was healthy for him. And I think I felt as much of a sense of closure as John did, simply because he was my brother and, pieces and parts were coming together for him. And I shared in that to some extent, even though none of it had affected me, really, but it certainly had affected my father to some degree.
What do you think it would have meant to your dad to be in Jean's hometown where she was born with John and you?
He would have been completely agog. If he would have been able to see both his sons together in New Zealand, in Jean's country, amongst her people, he would have been flabbergasted. It would have probably taken him weeks, if not months, to digest it.
I like to think of both Don and Jean as being with us on this journey. No doubt awestruck, but also hopefully feeling a sense of peace, seeing John understand more of his story, and knowing that he was reunited with his American family. Finding Don's cassette for Jean and John is of course what sparked it all, and with Ron about to fly out, there's just one thing left to do. Play John the tape and let him hear the sound of his father. We're sitting at our dining table in Howick. It's just me and John at home, and he has a brightness in his eyes, which shows me he's excited, but he's still playing it cool.
Reference. I've got it on my laptop.
Even though I'm going to be playing the digitised version of the cassette, I've put the actual tape on the table, and John turns it over and over in his hands, quietly marvelling at what's in front of him. Obviously, I've waited a while for this moment. I really wanted you to, I don't know, maybe learn a bit more about Don and sort of take a bit of a journey before you listen to it. How are you feeling this morning?
Oh, good. Yeah. Interesting to hear his voice.
I explain I'm playing a digital version off my computer.
How'd you get it on there?
Took it to a sound studio. Here goes.
Hello, Gene and John. The first 3 songs you will hear is Ron playing the guitar in the band. Now, if you have the intestinal fortitude, you might listen to the old fellow who never could learn to play guitar well, nor could he sing or even know the words from any song from beginning to end.
It's like hearing Ron talk. If it wasn't for the simple fact that I was told Don was talking, I think that was Ron was talking.
Do you want me to keep playing?
Yeah.
This was in 1968, when the old fella was laid up around the home alone, recuperating from injuries. I'm sorry I did such a poor job in transferring all to a new tape for you, but here goes. And afterwards, after listening to the old man sing, I expect you to laugh. Laugh well.
So this is Ron playing. Pretty good.
When I listened to it first, it's a love song.
I didn't realise it was a love song until he said so. Yeah. Quite important. Yeah.
The song starts with, I gave you my heart. You hold it in your hand, never to part, a promise that we made. And the chorus says, loving you is loving me. Seeing you is all I need. I hear your voice, it carries me away. It's definitely a love song. And I can see there's a lot for John to absorb here, so I'm being careful not to overwhelm him with questions yet. But I want him to listen to some of the second half of the tape, when Don performs himself. Now bear in mind, as we've learnt a little bit more about Don, he could only play a few chords on the guitar. And that the recording isn't great.
Sounds like Willie Nelson. You know, I feel a bit thing because I've dipped out somewhere. They've got the musical talent, and I seem to have missed out on all of that.
Well, if you hear Ron talk about it, I don't know that Don had spectacular musical talent.
But at least he still sung in tune.
What does it feel like hearing his voice?
Strange.
What's strange?
That there was somebody who made me that I'd never heard before. Quite cool.
And loved you so much from afar that he sent you this message.
Oh, quite special when you think about it. I mean, yeah, it's quite sad that I never got it. But that's history.
What sort of man does he sound like?
A gentle man. Really? Yeah. What I hear is a gentle man. A gentle man going to war, which I don't think is probably well suited for.
How loved do you feel by him hearing this?
That's a very hard question. because I've been loved all my life from my mum and dad. So they tend to override all of my emotions, possibly. It's like trying to replace a bit of them.
I can see that from the very beginning, that there is such fierce love and loyalty that you feel that if you show too much, then it's
showing disrespect. So it's very hard to quantify.
It's okay though, John. You're not showing disrespect.
But I mean, it's still, it's what's in here. I can't really take it out.
Of course you can't. If you did try and put it aside, just for a moment, is this a message of love from Don to you?
Yes. And I feel very humble that somebody so far away can care so much about me. Yeah.
It's quite special, right?
It's very special. It's something you probably never, ever in my wildest imagination would ever think that.
Yeah. Oh, look, you know me. I'm a crier. But the first time I listened to it and heard that song, did I cry? You know, imagining him making that tape for you. What do you think the intention of that tape was? You never got it, but what do you think the intention of the tape was?
I think the intention of the tape was to show a man that he really loved a little boy so far away. Yeah. Very magical. Very magical. And quite, I suppose, mixed feelings. I just feel very sad that I never, ever got to meet him or even talk to him.
Does Don feel more tangible to you now?
Yes. Well, he's just been just an entity, I suppose, but it's come closer.
He's more fully realised, would you say?
Yeah. To me now, he's got a voice. I can hear his thoughts. And to me, he sounds a very beautiful, gentle man.
Like you.
No, I'm not like me at all.
I'm an 80s kid, and I think I was making mixtapes well into the 90s. Carefully curated cassettes of songs for friends and loved ones. I'd put so much effort into them. So the idea of Don, at almost 60, sitting down to create his own version of a mixtape for his lost son and love, and sharing one son's music with the other he'd never been able to meet, I find so bittersweet and beautiful.
My knowledge of our father is that would have taken him a while to plan and choreograph because he wasn't good at that sort of thing. Yeah, there was some hours that went into that, I think. Dad was shy of tape recorders, very much so. I think he, had probably written out a great deal of what he was going to verbally say on it.
Probably several retakes.
Probably. And I think overall, the intent was for you to hear his voice. That was the intent of the tape. To have at least that amount of connection with John. If he couldn't have any more.
So Don made this in 1981, 36 years after leaving New Zealand, and it was decades after he found out that he had a son. Yeah, how much longing do you think there is in that cassette?
I think there's a lot of longing.
I do as well. Well, once again, I hearken back to the effort he made to put this tape together. This was no easy matter for him, and so I think that speaks in and of itself of his longing and his desire to make connection and to close the circle if as much as he could, if not physically, emotionally. You know.
I think that sums it up very well.
How much love is there in that cassette?
A great deal.
Yes, I don't think you could put a quantity on that.
No, I don't either. And I think, you know, it's on the cassette, but I think he carried that with him all the time. Everything in there, I think, bespeaks his emotions at the time, which were certainly love.
It's a beautiful thought, imagining the look on Don's face, seeing his son at 80 finally listening to the tape, and feeling that connection Don wanted to make over 40 years ago. John now understanding just how much he was loved. I know it's been a huge week for John and Ron, and in fact the entire podcast has been quite an undertaking for both of them. But I also know how much it's meant to John learning more about Don and sharing his life with his brother, and for Ron to gain so much more insight into a time and place that meant so much to his dad.
I have been able to, while undergoing this process, put things in context. Times, places, people. You've been able to sit back and go, yeah, 1940s, the war, being young, being in love, having a child out of wedlock, being kind of cast adrift after the war. And then, you know, all of a sudden you find out you've got a child. It feels more connected to me now.
What does it feel like to walk in his shoes here? Has it made you feel close to him?
Oh, yes. Yes, it's made me feel closer to him. I feel, and I have felt during this whole journey with the podcast, is that he's just over my shoulder observing all this and with a big smile on his face. I just had a feeling, you know, he had a hand on my shoulder saying, do this, do this. Do it for yourself, do it for John, do it for me. And normally in my retired life as it is now, I wouldn't have become involved in a project like this. You know, it had been much too much, but I felt compelled to do it. It was the final gift I could give my father. I sit and think about, you know, what Dad would have thought about me being here, John and I together. The circle would have closed. I think he would have been just absolutely tickled pink. He would have been thrilled.
I think so too.
Yeah, thrilled.
Yeah.
Ron, you mentioned a completion of the circle. What about you, John?
Yes, agree. In more ways than one for me. It's also completed the circle up there, but it's also completing a circle here, which I thought the doors had gone. The biggest thing is having him here in little old New Zealand, seeing how we live. But it was so nice to have you here.
It's been great being here.
Okay, should we leave it at that?
We can leave it at that.
Did you have something else you wanted to say, John?
Yeah, I love my brother.
Yep, seeing these two together is pretty damn cute. It's just pure, joyous love.
That's the way. That's the way. Gate age.
So when we drop Ron at the airport, it's a pretty gutting goodbye.
You know the worst part about this? I mightn't see you again.
Love you, brother.
You give my love to my sister, huh?
I sure will.
We've been on this journey for many months now, and I've seen this vulnerability open up in John, allowing him to feel and think about a part of himself that he'd pretty much closed off. And it's been so beautiful seeing his heart open and grow as he learns so much more about his history.
It's been very special. He's just awakening things that have been asleep.
For me, I've been overcome by all the aroha in this story. The great love that began with Jean and Don all those years ago in World War II.
That was the love of Mum's life. He really was.
The love they had for each other and their lost son. We know Jean's love for John never wavered, despite not being able to have the relationship with him she likely hoped for.
Love beaming from you, that's how I felt. She was like something she'd been missing had come back.
Then there was the fierce love Jack and Hilda had for John, and he had for them, his mum and dad.
There was just no mistaking the love there, a quiet love.
Across an ocean was Don. His enduring love for John stayed with him always, a reminder of his son kept in his wallet till the day he died.
Very magical that he really loved a little boy so far away.
Viola's big-hearted actions meant Don's love evolved into a different kind of love story for John, creating those deep ties between him and his family in America.
Oh, Mother was an incredible woman by any stretch.
It's consistently struck me just how loved John was by so many. This beautiful little boy, completely unaware of these invisible threads connecting all these lives. So yes, while there is heartbreak and sadness, knowing John never met his father, there's so much love and beauty. It's been a truly epic journey for John, and I can't help but reflect on what it means to get a sense of belonging. For so many of us it's a given, but for many of the thousands of children like John born to US servicemen, and in fact many other adopted children, it can be a struggle to reclaim it. Some manage it, some, like John, need a little help, and others never find that full sense of identity. Or as Mum says, never get the chance to put all the pieces of the puzzle together. It hasn't always been easy to make this particular jigsaw. John's deep love for his mum and dad, Jack and Hilda, meant he's had to overcome feelings of guilt and disloyalty. And interrogating all these feelings is way outside John's normal comfort zone. I've also had to navigate my own feelings of stepping where maybe I shouldn't, being sensitive, while still being open. I do hope I managed that, and that you see the podcast the way I do, as a love story. As I've said from the start, every family has a hidden story, and I hope John's story, my family's story, shows that it's never too late to start trying to find all the lost pieces of your puzzle. I've been moved to tears so many times making this podcast, and I want to leave you with something Adam said in America.
I think my grandpa right now, if he was over us watching, he'd say something like, "Mission complete, I got it done." My dad in Geneva found their brother. I think that's what he really wanted to do, was bring the kids together. And I think that's what he got. So whether you're religious or not, or this and that, he's somewhere right now smiling. I really believe that.
Thanks for listening to The Sound of My Father, made by Riotworks for RNZ. This podcast was hosted and written by me, Rita Atwood, in collaboration with my amazing co-producer, Joanna Walcott. My heartfelt thanks to my beautiful family and all of John's extended whānau, who so graciously shared their knowledge, history and time for this podcast. And to Ngā Taonga Sound and Vision and Archives New Zealand for some of the audio used throughout the series. A massive mihi to Eugene, the cultural advisor and vital collaborator on the project, and to Brian Olding and Jason Fox for digitising the tape with such care. And of course, a huge thanks to the incredible team at RNZ. The wonderful Liz Garton was the producer, the audio engineer was William Saunders, and Jane Joyce was the graphic designer. Tim Watkin is RNZ's executive editor audio, and Brianna Uritich-Gregg is the production coordinator. To discover more about John's story and family, you can see my photos on the RNZ website rnz.co.nz/podcasts and check out all the other great RNZ podcasts while you're there. Hei kona mai.